Hey, what's up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery podcast. And guys, we're excited because we're actually releasing a second podcast called The Persistent Entrepreneur, which I'm super excited about that. So make sure you keep your eyes on the podcast channel. Today, though, we are on Path to Mastery with Jason Kramer, the CRM guru. What's going on, Jason?
I'm living the dream here in New York. It's a sunny day, David, so good place to be.
That's all it takes to live the dream, man, is a sunny day
Well, yeah, when
in
you
New
have a lot
York.
of rain the last 2 weeks, sun helps.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that. See, there you go. You got to give me some context. That's a good thing, man. Well, hey, thanks for joining us today on the show. And man, I talk about CRM all the time, like how important it is. I mean, I'm a sales trainer, and the fall, one of the most important elements of sales is follow up. And in order to follow up properly, you need a what, Jason?
You need a system.
You need a
Sometimes a system,
system.
more than a Google spreadsheet.
Well, and it's funny, some salespeople still rely on those spreadsheets, but then it usually shows up in their production, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So talk to us. How did you get started? Well, before we even go there, tell us what's your company, and then how did you get started in the CRM space?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that, David. So, company is Cultivize. We're based in New York, as we mentioned earlier, with the nice sunny weather here today. So we really do something very simply and very focused. And what we do is we help companies, specifically those in the B2B and even direct to consumer space, that are established. They have a flow of leads, but what they're struggling with is what you just identified, is capturing not only the movement of those leads through the sales process, but where are they coming from? A lot of our clients spend a lot of money, David, on marketing, and they don't really know which marketing is actually driving quality leads, not just the volume of leads. So our job is to swiftly guide our clients to determine if the technology they have is suitable to meet the demands of their team, or we come in and we make recommendations on a better tech stack to help solve that problem.
Got it. And why was that important to you? Like, why did you, what got you interested in that?
So what got me interested so before Cultivize, I had a marketing and branding business for 16 years based out of Manhattan. And I saw a lot of clients spending a lot of money on lead gen. And when I kept on asking them, well, what happened with those leads? This is how many people came through the website or called you or visited you at the trade show. Did it materialize to anything? And so many times, David, they would not be able to answer that question. Well, we don't know. We don't know how it did. We don't know what happened. We just have no way of tracking that. And my conscience kind of came into alignment with also being in the branding and design world for over 20 years, kind of getting a little burnt out of doing the same thing for so long. I saw an opportunity, and the opportunity was, well, what if I could help connect the dots between marketing and sales? And that's really why we started Cultivize, to help solve that gap.
So to connect the dots between marketing sales, is it the data you're getting, or how do you do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So yes, so we will track all marketing efforts for clients, whether it be digital through AdWords or social media. We also track non-digital. So we have a quick story. We have a new roofing company that came to us about 3 months ago in New Hampshire, not too far between where you and I live. And they've been around for over a decade. They spend a lot of money, close to $100,000 a year on marketing, and they do everything. They got lawn signs, they got direct mail, they do radio, they do TV, they got trucks driving around, all these different things, and they have no idea which specific marketing is working for them. Now, we're not a marketing agency at all. We don't help with the lead generation. The best way I give the example, David, is think of a front door to a house. The marketing agency or department is going to get people to knock on your door. It's my team's job to invite them in, sit them down on the couch, get to know them, and start building a rapport and relationship. So hopefully they want to stay with us and work with us, right? In this case, the clients. So for this roofing company, we developed a very simple strategy where everything that's not digital, his direct mail, his lawn signs, we created very specific QR codes and put them on all those different materials. And now we can actually track where people are scanning a QR code from, coming to the site, filling out an estimate request, and then potentially doing business with them. And that's helped tremendously for him to identify which marketing channels he's going to dump and get rid of because he's just burning money, and which ones are actually working that he could double down on and invest more money in.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about fundamentally those CRM. Like, tell people, what, in your opinion, what is a CRM? Because there's people listening like, I don't even know what a CRM is. What does that mean, right?
Well, let's just start off to say that there are literally probably thousands of different, classifications of CRMs. In my definition, a CRM is going to have three major components. It's going to have a place to store your contacts, information about not only prospects, but about customers, about partners, about vendors. It's going to have a place to silo all of those pieces of information, but also give a place for your team to take notes and to have a trail of conversation of important information you're going to need, as well as the data you're going to need to help segment, which we'll talk about later on. The second part is there's got to be a sales component. There's got to be a dashboard or a pipeline. There's got to be something there for your sales team to track, as you pointed out before, their activity, where things are at in the pipeline, what stage are they at, and the reporting that comes along with that. The third thing that's really important, in my opinion, is the email marketing component. If your CRM can't disperse outbound emails, whether that's an email blast or the salesperson having templates they can send one off, then you're really not able to track how people are engaging with the content that's being pushed out there. And so there's a fine line between CRMs that cost, $100 a month to $10,000 a month. And really, it's not about the features. It's about what problems do you have in your business and which technology, which CRM is the right fit to solve those problems.
So the three things are contacts. So you're tracking, obviously having their information up to date, notes, the prior conversations, follow up, right? Scheduling your follow up. Number two, sales tracking. What is sales? Break that down for us when you say sales.
Sure. So every business has a sales process, whether they realize it or not. So in simple terms, you or I might get a lead today, David, right? The first thing we might do is to have a discovery call, right? That might be our process, all right? The second thing might be to put a proposal together. The third stage is to follow up on that proposal, right? And then the fourth is obviously to either win or close the business. Pretty simple. Some companies have a more complex sales process. They have to do demos. They have to, get NDAs signed. There's all these different steps. So that's what I talk about when I talk about the sales process. What are the specific, I'll call them baby steps, if you will, but the specific steps that is needed in order to acquire a new customer.
So kind of like stages in the like where they are in the sales process.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. All right, cool. And then email marketing, man. I'll tell you, it's tough, bro. I feel like most emails are going in spam. They're not being opened. I mean, you got to have it, obviously, but how is there a best practices for email marketing, or maybe there's a better CRM? Some people told me don't even use the CRM, use like a third party, like a MailChimp or something. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll tell you that I'll give you the short version of it, but that could be a whole other podcast by itself, just talking about that. But the short version is that there's a lot of factors, right? So, there are, first off, your domain name is really important. If you're going to be doing cold email marketing, you may want to get a separate domain because, depending on the volume, you could actually hurt your domain, which could affect your business, right? So that's one thing to consider. Content is really important. It's not just about, how many emails and how long those emails are, but it's about what are you saying in those emails and who's it going to. One thing I touched on before about contacts in a CRM is the data you have in the segmentation. In a perfect world, your emails should be highly personalized to each person, including information about their industry, about maybe their geographic location, about the problems that they have, whatever it might be that's unique to them. That's how you're going to get people to respond and engage in your email. You're absolutely right, though. Even some of the best emails will still go to a spam or promotion folder, especially on the free versions out there or free software like Gmail and Yahoo and all of those. It's getting harder and harder to get into the inbox, into those platforms. So depending upon your business, you may have a lot of people in your database that have a Gmail or a Yahoo or an AOL, maybe even, right, email address. you need to know that because your strategy is going to be different. How you're going to market to them via email. But there's a lot of tools out there, David. And the first thing we always like to encourage companies we're talking to is let's do an audit. Let's see what's going on behind the scenes with your domain, with your email deliverability, because maybe the platform you have is good, maybe it's not good. And that's always the place to start.
So what percentage of businesses do you see? Like I can't imagine as many businesses out there without CRM. But I know, like,
Well, there's a lot.
are there really?
Yeah. It's and it's because they don't know what they don't know, right? So it's not that they wouldn't value it. So for example, this new roofing company, we just brought on a new pool construction company. It's been around 20 years, multi-million-dollar business. They've been using legal pads and paper to keep notes and to follow up. It's because they don't know how to go about getting into a CRM. So, the difference for us, David, with our approach is we're not a software company, right? We're finding the best software to bring to the table, but we are the strategists. We're the implementer. We're doing all the work. I describe us as a white glove, partner if we join our team, with our clients. So when they're coming to us, we're not only recommending the right CRM, we're building it for them. We're implementing it. We're connecting it to their website, uploading their data, building their email sequences. We're doing everything for them. And then we stay on to be a coach and an advisor and a support, system for them to make sure they're actually getting something out of it. Because, being in the world of sales, adoption is one of the hardest things, right? You can have the best sales program, the best sales software, but if your team isn't using it, then it's really worth nothing,
Yeah, 100%. So what would you say are some of the biggest, before I go there, what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes you see when it comes to CRM?
Yeah, so for sure, it's all about the dog and pony shows, right? There's a lot of companies out there that make their product look really sexy, and they think, oh, wow, this is going to solve all my problems. It's going to do everything I want it to do. And I'm a big believer that software does not solve problems on its own. You need people with an understanding of what the problem is and how you're going to use the technology to solve that problem. So I think the biggest problem is people jump in too quick to a product without really understanding how is it actually going to help their business, right? And what they also don't realize is that when you buy any type of CRM software, you're just buying a white canvas. The tools are there, but nothing's built. There's no automation that's going to come out of the box for you. Emails aren't written, things aren't connected to your website. Your pipeline isn't built for you, right? So you've got to now customize that tool to your specific needs. And there's a great study that the Harvard Business Review did, David, and it said that nearly 70% of businesses that take on a CRM on their own will fail at actually implementing it, which is a huge number.
Yeah.
And think about not only the time, but also the financial commitment. If you've just signed up for a software that's $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, whatever it might be, and now you're lost and it's taking you 6 months or 9 months to use it, you're probably eventually going to give up and just cancel that contract. And now you kind of also have a bad taste in your mouth for CRM, right? So really trying to find a consultant, whether it be Cultivize or someone like us to help you guide you, I think is really the first step.
Yeah, I think that's critically important. Ironically, we launched a new CRM for my real estate company about 3 weeks ago. It's called Lofty. If anybody's interested, reach out to me, and I'll connect you with those guys. But I'll tell you what, man, I have two VAs that build funnels, and they know this stuff. And if it wasn't for them, like it took us 3 weeks to get up and going. We had to build a website. We had to set everything up, set up the email, set up the drip campaigns, the smart, everything.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, I coach and train real estate agents. 9 out of 10 real estate agents would never be able to figure it. They would need to hire somebody like you, and most of them, I'm gonna be frank, are too cheap to hire someone like you.
Right.
But this is a real estate specific product. So I was just like, wow, I just can't imagine a few people I know having to deal with this right now.
Well, even with that product, it sounds like you still had to customize it for your.
Oh, we did, yeah.
Right. So even that, and that's the point, is there's so many industry specific CRMs out there. They still need to be built. You still probably have, 20, 50 hours worth of work that's going to go into it to actually build it. And that's if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, forget about it. It's going to be a lot longer.
Oh yeah, I mean, just getting the email to work right, between the Google, the domain, the whole thing. I mean, so much. Yeah, I'm just glad I didn't end up having to do it all. Anyway, all right. So definitely everybody should have a CRM. If you don't have a CRM, then things are falling through the cracks, right? I mean, that's what I teach people. Like, I don't want to have to remember that. Hey, I just had a great conversation with Jason. He told me to call him back in 3 months. I write it down on a piece of paper, drop it on my desk, go on about my day. 2 weeks later, I forgot I even talked to Jason. 3 months later, nothing happens, right? But a CRM, I set a reminder, I make a note. 3 months later, I log in, it tells me, hey, give Jason a call.
Yeah. And you know what's really interesting about that so we talk a little bit in our world, we talk about lead nurturing. And really what that means, it sounds what it exactly is, right? You nurture leads through that process. So if it takes you, especially let's say in real estate, the example you gave, it could take, months to find a house you're looking for, right? So you have to be constantly, doing showings and being involved with that person to close that deal, right? But what's interesting is that 63% of people that are nurtured through the sales process will actually convert. And if you're actually educating them during that process, then the purchase rate of them spending more money or buying more things from you goes up by 47%. And I'll say that again, it's worth repeating, is that if you nurture your leads, 63% of those leads are more likely to buy than if they weren't nurtured. And out of that percentage, almost half of them will likely buy more from you because you've been educating them and informing them about what you can do, why you're the expert, the things you can help with their business that might even be an offshoot of what you originally spoke about. So having a CRM that can actually nurture, like you just talked before about the email campaigns, to educate and inform is critical in the sales process.
Yeah, talk a little bit about educating and informing. I know you talked about it a little bit in the beginning, but like, what does that look like for somebody?
So I'm a big believer, my sales process, and open to your thoughts, David, as a sales trainer, but I don't believe in the hard sell. I'm not trying to get somebody to sign a contract tomorrow because I don't even know if I could help them, quite honestly, right? I need to learn about their business, their problems, and see if it's actually a mutual fit. For us, it's really about the quality. It's not about the quantity we bring into Cultivize. And so our process, like for many of our clients, it's about education, right? So just an example would be going back to this new pool company we brought on. So they sell pools of all different sizes, all different, costs, et cetera, spas and everything else. And we're talking to them now about an email sequence that's going to educate their customer base. So if someone's supposed to spend $50,000 on a pool, we're going to create a sequence of emails. This is what you should look for when you're buying a pool. Here's the hidden expenses you didn't know about that when you're going to buy a pool. Here's things about landscaping. Here's some landscapers we can introduce you to. All the things to inform them that when they make this big life purchase, there should be no shred of a doubt that we're working with the best company and they have our back. They have our best interest in heart. And right now they're not doing that, right? So it could take them 2-3 months or a year to sell a $50,000, $80,000 pool because someone's looking now for next season, right? They want to just kind of understand what's involved. And so if all they're doing is just having a salesperson call them once a month, hey, are you ready to buy? Hey, are you ready to buy? They're probably not going to buy it. They're going to get really turned off and go somewhere else. So that's what we talk about when we talk about education.
I love that.
Yeah.
Did you watch my podcast where I was making fun of salespeople? I was saying, hey, just following up next month. Hey, it's me just following up again. Hey, it's me. I'm following up.
No, I didn't see that, but
following up, checking in, right? Like that's what most people, hey, just checking in again, ready to go. Yeah, that gets old. And then they start running from you and ignoring you.
Yeah, everybody
as opposed to what you said, you just providing good information. Like let them know here's something going on. So I love that you shared that. All right, give us an example of a great automation, like a successful nurturing campaign that you've seen, and what made it stand out.
So I will say that a great nurturing campaign is looking at the behavior, right? So let's be a little bit more broad, right? It won't be a specific client, but these are the fundamentals, which I think is important and will provide more value to the listeners. So a great automation isn't just a sequence of emails that goes out when you decide they should go out, right? Like every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, or every month, et cetera. but it should look at the interaction after each one of those things happen. So an example would be you send out an email with some type of material. Hey, check out our guide on XYZ, right? And there's a link to get that guide. Well, if your CRM is smart enough, it'll know if the person actually clicked the link to look at the guide or not. And if they looked at the guide, well, then they're what I would call a hand raiser, right? They're kind of showing interest more than the person that didn't even open the email. So if you can build a sequence where you're taking in an account, are they visiting our website? Are they responding to our email? Are they clicking on the things that we're sending them? And you start building the messaging to reflect that you're acknowledging that, you're going to get a lot higher people to respond to you when you're actually asking for that meeting or that demo or whatever it might be as a next sign in the sales process. One thing that I love to do, David, in my sequences, some of our emails will have a link. Hey, let's schedule a call, right? Like a discovery call, a strategy session. We call it different things for different purposes. If somebody clicks a link, and we use Calendly, by the way, that's the tool we use to schedule. So even though Calendly is not connected to my CRM, I'm able to track whether or not they click that link. And I'm also able to track whether or not they actually booked the call. So if they don't book the call and they click, an email goes out a day later. Hey, David, it looks like you tried to schedule a call with me yesterday. I don't see it on my calendar. Not sure if something happened. Would you like to schedule that call now? Here's the link again.
Yeah, I like that.
Right. So it's doing it using information to understand where they are. Because if you just set it up once and let it run, I will tell you, it's most likely not going to work. And the last piece of advice I would give, regardless of how long your sequence is, test, retest, and retest. Don't just set up your emails and hit go and let it run and never look back. You really want to be looking at that to say which of those emails are getting engagement, which ones are getting opened, which one are getting clicked. And if they're not, change the subject message, change the format. Maybe it shouldn't be a nice, pretty designed email with a lot of graphics. Maybe it should be a vanilla plain text email that's super short and it looks like you wrote it from Outlook. So you got to really, experiment to see what's working for your prospect base and your business.
So, and since you brought up email again, and to that point, like the more links and fancy stuff you add, the more chance the email has of going into spam. Is that correct?
100%. I mean, in our experience and professional opinion, any email should have no more than 3 links in it. And even 3 sometimes
seems high. Yeah, seems high.
So the one thing that people, I'm glad you brought that up because it's something that's worth, drilling in on just a second. When you send out an email, even if you have 2 or 3 links in the body of the email, look at your signature. If you have 5 social media channels, that's 5 more links in your email. If you have a link to your website, that's another link. So, when we do marketing for email, we almost never include social media at all. If they want to find us, they'll find us. They know the company name. It's not difficult to go on LinkedIn or Facebook or anything else and type in Cultivize in front of our page. So I personally think it's completely irrelevant in most cases, not all, to have your social links because it's just adding to the potential of it going into the junk folder.
Oh, that's super smart, man. All right. So first off, how do people get in touch with you if, and I love that tip. Never heard that one before. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Socials. How do people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about what you do?
So the easiest thing to do is to go to afterthelead.com. On there, you'll have a link to my LinkedIn profile. We have a playbook that we put together that is a whole blueprint on the things we talked about today and how to build out that lead nurturing strategy. There's some other things in there as well. So that'd be the best way. And I'm on open sort of door, David. So you'll be able to schedule a strategy session with me, give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm happy to get on the phone with any of your listeners and talk through any of the problems they might have that align with what we talked about today. So it's afterthelead.com is the place to go to.
I love it. This is, and as I mentioned, this is my first time hosting a podcast. Well, not my first time hosting a podcast, but doing it on Chatter. And Chatter's a new app, voice app. It's really cool. It's got video, audio. It's really badass. Man, I think I just had to make this an explicit episode. But I'm curious to see if, because my friend Vishon just popped on Chatter, and I'm just curious to see if she has any questions and if it's actually working the way I think it's working. So, Vishon, are you there? And do you have any question? Do you have a question for Jason?
Hey, David, good to see you.
Jason,
I
can you hear Vishon?
Yes, I can.
Oh, good. It's working. I love it. Okay, good.
hey, I popped in, so I don't know the full context of the conversation. But I always have questions about using tech to nurture leads. I do have maybe some specific questions, but
Yeah. Do you have a
what
you?
you guys were talking about though, like I don't want to.
Well, we've been talking about Jason is an expert when it comes to building the right CRMs for companies and clients and helping them to utilize the CRM the right way, with follow up, with nurturing the leads, with providing good information. So that's really what we've been talking about for the last like 30 minutes. So, I saw you come in. I respect you a ton and just figured you'd have a great question. So if you don't, that's fine too, because I know you just popped in.
No, I definitely have questions. I just didn't know in what context. I mean, I have curiosity as to.
Yeah. So as a business owner, right?
Yeah. I'm actually thinking about one of my clients. You know what, David? I don't know if I ever really got a chance to kind of tell you, but I learned so much from you from our time together, and I was able to like kind of close some really big clients, as a result of some of the things I learned from you. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Oh, good. Well,
You're like,
I
wait a
can
minute,
expect
hey,
a
I need
referral
a check.
commission.
Like, I need a check.
I would love a check. I love checks. Even though Starbucks is good. But anyway, let's go back to Jason though. If you do, I appreciate you doing this too, because it shows actually the technology is working, which is great. But yeah, Jason is sitting here looking handsome. Do you have a question for him?
Yeah, no, I do. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so I guess my question is, well, I'll tell you, I don't know how relevant it is, but first of all, I do want to know about just some quick information on the best systems or the best things other than something like go high level. Like, how are you using AI to nurture leads or that process, or is there anything kind of crafty and innovative that you're doing there? And then the second question is nurturing leads for the purposes of fundraising. Um, for nonprofits, like the best approach. I'm finding that I have a client, and I don't think that they're nurturing properly. So we've been addressing it because it's always sending out emails, regarding we need to raise money, we need to this, that, or the other. So really, if you have any advice on that, I would love it. In terms of a lead for fundraising purposes and the proper process to approach that. And I have some ideas, but I'm just curious if you have any thoughts about it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Well, the first question about AI. So obviously the big buzzword, right, the last few years or more. My contention on that is that AI is a tool that can supplement the things that you're going to be doing with nurturing leads. So you can use it to help inform about maybe the company or the organization. In this case, you talked about the donors. So you can use AI to look up where else have they donated before, a little bit of information about them. And so AI is a good tool to do research that you can use in your outbound messaging to them, right? If you're going to do one-on-one messaging. Other uses of AI, certainly there's lots of different tools out there. There's an abundance of them, but I would just be hesitant to let AI do all of your nurturing for you. That's my only kind of one thing I always feel strong against, is that humans are selling to other humans. Unless you're buying a widget off of a website, through e-commerce, there has to be usually human interaction. And I haven't seen any AI yet that could do what David and I, or you, or anybody else can do in terms of talking to a prospect and communicating with them to shore up any questions they have, and to solidify that relationship. The second part, just to keep this kind of tight, on the nonprofit side, fundraising obviously is a big requirement. That's how the organizations, right, nonprofits are gaining capital. I was actually just talking to the New York State Restaurant Association this morning on a prospecting call, and about how they raise money for that organization. And so the answer is that you have to find the compelling reasons, I believe, of why they actually wanted to donate in the first place, and why they had donated in the past. And almost at an emotional level. And I don't know how the marketing is being done right now, Vishon, or to what extent it ties into the emotional connection between the donor and the organization. But that's what I would say I would focus on from a messaging standpoint is to connect on an emotional level.
That's great. Awesome. Well, I hope that helps, Vishon. Maybe you should reach out to Jason as well and connect with him. Jason, again, tell us, how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you could go to Cultivize, which is Cultivize, but I always tell people it's easier just to remember afterthelead.com, which will bring you to our site as well.
Okay, and then one more question from me, and I know we're coming to the end of the
Sure.
40 minutes. Going back to AI, because I'm glad Vishon brought that up, and we were talking about email, but I feel like a lot of people rely now on AI to write their emails, and I get an email, I can see right away.
Yeah.
Does the I'm not sure if the right words, but like, the filters that they have on like Gmail and all that, and do they pick that up, and does that trigger spam alerts and things like that, or is it just people like, I don't like that?
Well, I think it certainly can. I think the one thing that, I'll say this: personalization in emails definitely helps get past the filters, to avoid the spam filters, more than just personalizing email. Like, the first name rather. To me, that's not personalization. Hi, Jason. Hi, Mr. Kramer. Like, that's nothing, right? So it's more about personalizing the actual content. I think is really a big changer. But specifically the AI, yeah, I mean, for sure. Listen, ChatGPT is a Google component, right? So I mean, like Gmail and like they're all these systems are ultimately feeding off of the same data sets. So one thing that people probably don't know about, for example, ChatGPT, is if you ask a question and you're getting back content, that's now public record. Like, that information is public in a searchable method online, on the web. And so if anybody can index it and you're writing your messaging, well, now any system out there that's indexing that information can see the messages you're writing. So it's good as a research tool, but I wouldn't use it to write your content just yet.
Wow. Well, I think a lot of people are using it, and some even just building websites and everything else. So writing books, like I know people have like, oh, I've written 10 books. you haven't written 10 books. You had ChatGPT write 10 books.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all good, man. All right. Any final thoughts, man? What anything I missed, I should have asked? We got Monty in the house. Monty, thanks for joining us as well. We are coming to the end of our time now. So Vishon, thank you for the great questions as well. And
but not to be rude and thank him, answer my question. I didn't get a chance to tell him thank you, and I appreciate it, and that was good feedback.
Yeah, absolutely, my pleasure. I think the one thing I would just leave with is that if you have a CRM or if you don't have a CRM, the one thing you want to do is, instead of jumping in and giving up and saying the CRM we have isn't the right one, or go ahead and signing that contract for a new CRM, just reach out to us. We actually have something we offer called a free CRM fit assessment. And David, that's a really in-depth process we do to think of it going to the doctor, and the doctor's asking you a bunch of questions to help figure out what's wrong with you. We do the same thing about your business to help you figure out what type of CRM system you need. And that's a free service we provide because we want to make sure that clients are stepping into, not even clients, but even companies stepping into the right system. So that would be the one piece of advice. If anybody walks away today, is don't sign up for anything until you know 100% for sure. A, it's going to help you with your problems, and B, to your point before, David, you have a team already in place that's going to actually help build it for you and all the content. See, if you don't have that team and you're just buying software, it's never going to do anything on its own.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, man. Final question. What does path to mastery, I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this either, mean to you?
Path to mastery. Well, to me, I think it's a journey, which certainly I've taken one, being, having two businesses. But I think it would be the journey to building one's self-awareness in whatever it is that they do, and that with the constant goal of trying to just get better every day at what you're doing, and not to settle to say, I know everything I know, I'm good, I don't want to learn anymore. I think it's a constant education, for people.
Well said, my man. Well said. Well, we appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so much.